Hello, good Tavach, and welcome to Daf Yomi, Maseches Taanit, number 14, Yudalid. Getting ready for a big week. It's going to be Hanukkah this week. And just maybe I might be able to get my semi-celeb sidekick to join me for Shiurim. If not, we'll have to find somebody else. Anyway, it's going to be a blast. Tune in, enjoy, watch. Plenty of donuts, plenty of Hanukkah candles, and plenty of fun. All right, we're going to start from the Yud Dalet and Aleph from the top, the third line. I'm Rav Ashi, Masisa Nami Daika. Our Mishnah, we're trying to prove on Daf Yud Gimel whether you say the 24 brachos instead of saying 18 brachos for Shemona Esrei, you say 24 brachos. Is that just for the last 7 fasts, or also for the middle 3 fasts? He says it's also for the middle 3 fasts. Rav Ashi says. And our Mishnah proves it. The daika not my season daika. The kasani ma ilu yisiros al rishonos el shbe'ilu masriyim v'nolenes achanuyos. It says the only difference that the last 7 over the middle 3, the middle 3. There's 3, 3, and 7. The difference between them is that the last 7 you lock the stores and you cry out to Hashem either with a shofar, with a tefillah, a special tefillah. We'll see. When it comes to everything else, seemingly including 24 brachos, they're the same. Maybe you'll tell me, no, it says two differences and it left out another difference. They specifically said, what are the differences? So it's not really reasonable to assume that it left other things out. Tispera, is this really possible? Ma'ilu dafka? Hashayr la teva. You can't say ma'ilu is really specific. It only says 2 things because we know there's another difference. That the ark was put in the street as opposed to taken out of the shul and put in the street, and they died in the public in the street. So the words mishum teva lav shiuru. That's not something that left out. Mishum kachashiv lav idach pirka. It's not sheer, because it actually says it somewhere else. It says in the next parak, we'll see the beginning of the second parak, it says that they took out the teva. Now we're going to see in the Gemara that's only the last 7 fasts. So it said that somewhere else. So it didn't leave that out of the previous Mishnah. So the Gemara says, turns around and turns around the whole argument. Once we know that we're saying other things in the other parak. So it says only 24 brachos, and that's what we see that the Mishnah, first Mishnah, the second parak is only talking about the last 7 fasts. And there it mentions 24 brachos. You see that 24 brachos is only the last 7 fasts and not the middle 3 fasts. That seems to be a machloket, the maskana of our Gemara. My havi Allah. So now the Gemara wants to go back to another shot. Now the question is, when do you say the bracha vanenu? Amar Rav Shmuel bar Sas Ritai v'chen Amar Rav Chia bar Asher Amar Rav ben Goel Larof. He says you say it in the middle of the bracha of Goel, Geula, in Shemona Esrei. Rashi Amar Mishmei Rav Yanai B'Rav Rav Yishmuel Yishmuel b'Shomei Tefillah. He says like we say it in Shomei Tefillah. But his Hilchasa b'Shomei Tefillah. Halacha follows Shomei Tefillah. That's when you're supposed to say it. And we pass can even a silent Shemona Esrei on a Taanit Sibor. You say it in Shemei Tefillah only. Taanit Sibor, when the Shliach Sibor says it, then he says in Ben Goel Larofe. He says a new bracha. Tani Chada. One brayso says Ubros Menikos Misanos Berishonos Emisanos Bachronos. We can discuss now whether ladies that are pregnant and ladies that are nursing, they don't always have to fast. So when do they fast? When they don't fast? On these 3 sets of fast days that we just talked about for Geshamim. So one brayso says Misanos Berishonos Emisanos Bachronos. They fast on the first ones, but not on the last one. Tani Ida. The second brayso says Misanos Bachronos, Misanos Brishonos. They fast in the last set of fasts, not the first set. Tani Idach, Misanos Lo Brishonos Lo Bachronos. A third brayso, seemingly contradicting the first 2 braysos, says they don't fast neither on the first, neither on the last. How do you resolve the contradictions in all 3 braysos? Amar Rav Ashi, Nekodem Siyasa Biyadach Mitartun Kuluhu. He says take the middle set of fasts. Remember, there's 3 sets. There's 3, 3, and then 7. So he says basically all you have to say is that the first 3 fasts they didn't fast. they don't fast. The last 7 fasts, they don't fast. The middle one is when they fast. That would resolve all the contradictions. Because if you go back, the first verse says, Misanos B'Rishonos name Misanos B'Achronos. That's talking about the second and the third set of fasts. Not either Misanos B'Achronos name Misanos B'Rishonos. That's talking about the first and second fasts. And the last verse is talking about the first and third fasts. So you see the second set of fasts, they would fast. The others, they don't. Ma'ili Yisuras Arishonos. El Shveil Masri and Manolin Esachanuyo. So the last 7 fasts are more strict, that they do masri and they cry out and they lock the stores. My masriyan, what is considered masriyan? What is considered calling out? Yehuda Amar b'shofros. He says they blew the shofar. Rav Yehuda braided Rav Shmuel bar Shelas, which made Rav Amar b'anenu. Rav says they say the prayer of anenu. It's not blowing a shofar. So the Gemara says, we thought originally man Amar b'anenu lamar b'shofros. One who has anenu means you can't do with the shofar. And the one who holds with shofar holds masri and does not mean with anenu. That Taanit, could this be true? The Bible says ein pochsin misheva tanios al sibor shmehan yudches hasros. There's at least 7 fast days on the sibor where you have yudches hasros. Similar to Yericho. The Yericho shofros haba. This Bible says that it's talking about hasros, what we're talking about, and it says like Yericho. So the Yericho shofar sav, Yerichos, they didn't say anenu, they blew a shofar. So you see that hasra means a shofar. Tiyufil or manenu, it's a contradiction on Rav who said anenu. El b'shofros t'kuli amalo pligi dekar le'asra. So the Gemara really retracts a little bit. Whereas everyone would agree that shofar could be called a hasra, blowing a shofar. They argue about whether anenu could be called a hasra. Marsar kari la hasra. Rav holds that anenu is also called a hasra. Marsar lo kari la hasra. And the first opinion in our Gemara held that anenu or tefillah is not called hasra. The one who says anenu, certainly if you wanted to, you could do hasra with shofar. You could blow a shofar. One of the shofars is anenu lo. If you do it with a shofar, you can do it with a shofar. You can't do it with anenu. That Mandamar says. That Tanya, but the Bible says, "V'shar kol minei pranios mitzrakshos kiyon chichu chagav zvuv v'tzira v'itushim v'shilat nechashim v'akravim loy masrin alasokin." We're going to see later on that until now we've been talking about a tsar of geshamim, a drought that rain didn't fall. What if other bad things happened to the sea? It will also cause people to cry out and fast to Hashem. We're going to see that in later prakim. So the Gemara, this spice is talking about chichuch, where you peel off boils or chagav, locusts, zvuv, tzira, fusion, a lot of flies or wasps and mosquitoes, or there's poisonous snakes and scorpions, lo yimasri and al-sokin, and they wouldn't do hasra, which is the word we're talking about. They would cry out, al-sokin, they would cry out to Hashem. With the tzaka b'peh, tzaka, we know crying out is with your mouth, with tefillah, hasra b'shofar, it must be hasra. Can only mean with shofar. So you see, there's no way to say hasra means anenu. So when it says Tanai, it really is Malot Tanai. The Tanya, al elu misrayim b'shvach b'Shabbos. On account of these things, you do hasra on Shabbos, even on Shabbos. Al ir shekifu al gayus, a city that was besieged by an army. Onar, or a river that overflowed its banks, and it's threatening to overflow the city. Or a ship that is threatened to sink at sea. He says you can call people to come try to help the situation, but you can't cry out to Hashem, because crying out to Hashem, it might not be helpful, and to cry out to Hashem on Shabbos is sar. People are not something else to do. Shabbos is to be a day of oneg. What is this price talking about? Shofar Shabbos mishari. Can you blow a shofar on Shabbos? You know there's a famous price that says it's not called a malacha, but it's called, the Rabbanan said that's called a chachma. Chachma was also on Shabbos. El Abanenu must be Anenu v'kari lahasra. And this Brisa calls at the beginning of the Brisa says al elu masriyim b'Shabbos, calls it hasra, and we know it's talking about tefillah, Anenu. Shema minas. You see, there's a possibility of hasra being referred to as Anenu. Tefillah could be a hasra. And that's the opinion of Rav. The Shnei the Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya have a Sarah. The Gemara continues, during the years of Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya, the prince, he was the grandson of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. There was a tsar, there was a a calamity that happened to the tzibur. It wasn't something else. Those are tlasas reitanios. They decreed 13 fasts. V'loyani, they weren't answered. At the top of Yudal and Beis. Savar lemigzar tfei. They had in mind the Rabbanan wanted to make more fasts. Amar le Rabbi Amr. Amr said to them, Harei Amru imatrichan es asibur yosem idai. We see from the fast days by Geshamim, you're supposed to only have 13 fasts. They only mentioned 13 fasts. So also for another affliction of the tzibur, you're not matriach the tzibur more than they can handle. Amar Rabbi Abba. When he said this, he was only talking out of personal concern. He didn't want to fast anymore. And it's hard to say the Gemara is saying. It's kind of like Lashon Hara. Rabbi Ami was stating he knew the halacha was that you're supposed to fast more, and he lied to them and told them that you're not allowed to fast more. I mean, it's hard to understand. That's the way Arshkel explains the Gemara. Hard to understand a little bit. Anyway, the Gemara says Rabbi Ami acted out of his own initiative in order to make sure he didn't have to fast. We only said 13 fasts for rain, for a drought. Other afflictions of the tzibur, you do fast more than 13 until you're actually answered. When they said this pattern of 3, 3, and 7, they only said it for rain. Until you're answered, you fast. Even if it's more than 13. Say this price that we just quoted is a disproof for Rabbi Ami, his position. Rabbi Ami actually, when he said the garment, he really had a Tanaic support for this. Tanai, it's Malos Tanai. The Tanai goes and Yosem Mishalosh Tzrei Taniyos Al Sirul Vishain Matriach and Siri Yosem and die. Rebbe. See, Rebbe is the sheet that holds that he doesn't mention rain. He says any gzeira, any affliction of the tzibur, you don't do more than 13 because it's a tircha to fast so many times. That's not the reason you don't do more than 13. It's only by Geshamim, because once 13 fasts have elapsed, it's no longer the time where rain will be beneficial to the crops. Therefore, there's no reason to fast more than 13. So he's the opinion that holds only by Geshamim. Shachle b'nei Ninveh the Rebbe, the people of Ninveh, which is the capital of Bavel, they sent the Rebbe. Kigon Anan, the Afilu b'tkuvas Tevi, Tammuz, Ba'inan Mitra, even in the summer, we need rain. They grew crops even in the summer. Heichin Avid, what should we do? Ki yechidim daminan, o karabim daminan. Are we like individuals or like the rabbin? What's the nafkamina? Ki yechidim daminan, o shemei atfil. If we're like yechidim that just make up a tainus, Yachid could take a tainus on himself for any reason he feels he needs to take a tainus on. To get a personal Yeshua from Hashem. And then he would say, Aneinu and Shemei Tefillah. Okirabim, I mean, or is it like a Tainus Sibur with Birchas Hashanim? Not even better than a Tainus Sibur. It's like, the Rabbim is considered to be like they need rain. The whole Sibur, like all of Klal Yisrael needs rain, and therefore you would say the same Talumat of the Bracha, even in Birchas Hashanim during the summer. Shalach lahu ki yechidim damis. He said to them, "You're like yechidim." You had mentioned it. The Ushmei Tefillah. Basically, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Emasai. Rabbi Yehuda said, "Emasai." V'zman she'Hashem kizikunon Yisrael shruin al admasa. When do we have the series of 3-3-3-7? You fast only in the winter. When Yisrael, when the regular years fall out, kizikunon, like they normally fall out, when the seasons are in the right seasons, Yisrael shruin al admasa, and Israel lives in Eretz Yisrael. But nowadays, after the destruction based on Mikdash, everything goes based on the years, meaning whenever it has to be the right season. It depends where, which place you are. Like you're in Ninveh in Bavel, you need more rain, then it could change. Or it depends on the time of what year we're in, where Klal Yisrael is. You know, Amar Le Masisa Ramis Ale, the Rebbe, you're asking from a Bryce on Rebbe? Rebbe Tanahu Polik. Rebbe could argue on a Bryce, he's a Tana, he's allowed to argue. He would hold, like Yechidim, not because Smasha from the Brysa, that all of Klal Yisrael after the destruction of the Mikdash is like a Tzibur, and therefore, if they all live in Bavel, then we'd actually say we're saying Talmatra of the Bracha, even during the summer. Rebbe would argue on that. Rebbe Tanahu Polik, therefore he says, say to Shemei Tefillah. Ma'yavi what's the halacha? Rav Nachman Amar Birchas Hashanah. Rav Nachman says in Ninveh they would say Talmud of Bracha. Rav Sheish Amar Shemei Tefillah. Rav Sheshes the halacha follows Rabbi that you'd say Shemay Tefillah. The halacha Shemay Tefillah. Halacha follows Shemay Tefillah. Even in a place where you need rain during the summer, you still don't say v'sin talmud the bracha during the summer. B'sheni matim chashecha v'chamisha hayot kol yom nei kavod Shabbos. Mishnah says that even though they lock the doors on Mondays of the fast days, they would partially open it close to the evening, and on Thursday they would open it for kavod Shabbos. What is the exact meaning of the Mishnah? Does it mean that on Mondays they would keep the door ajar only towards evening, but the beginning of the day would be totally closed? And Chamishi, they would keep the door ajar the whole day, but not the whole door open normally. Oh, Dilma b'sheni matim Chamishi posting kol yom kula. We say that maybe on Monday they had kept the door ajar the whole day, and Chamishi was a regular day. They keep it open as normal, as regular, the door wide open. Tashma the sani b'sheni matim on erev Chamishi posting kol yom kulo imnei kavod Shabbos. On Monday, says explicitly they would keep it ajar the whole day until the night, and Chamishi they would open it the whole way. Hayulo sheni shnei psachim posech echav v'noel echad hayulo itztaba keneged pischa posech kedarko ve'eno choshesh. Now, this seems to be a little steer. The second half of the brayso seems to be saying, we just said that Chamishi they keep it up the whole day, open the whole day. Now, this second half of the brayso seems to be saying that if you have two openings, keep one opening open and the other one closed. If you really let it open it like regular, so you should keep two openings open. So Rashi, I think, explains the second half of the brayso is talking about Mondays, that when you keep the door ajar, so one of the ways of keeping the door, either you can keep the door half open, or if you have two psachim, you can open one and keep one closed. Or if you have an opening from the side, where you have a bench on the side, you have a bench in front of the opening, so it's harder to get into the store. So then you can even open the door completely, because it's hard to get into the store because the bench blocks it a little bit. So therefore, that's called keeping it ajar. Avru elu onanu matan masav matan abinyan uvenetia. If these all 13 fast days passed and they weren't answered, then they would refrain partially from business, and they wouldn't engage in building and planting. Kind of binyan shel simcha. The only building, it wasn't that contract wasn't allowed to build. It's talking about binyan shel simcha. Netia shel simcha. A planting is also a planting of joy. What is that referring to? Ezu binyan shel simcha. What's a binyan shel simcha? Is that a bona beis chatnas the bno? He used to build, some people buy, or I guess it would include in the Mishnah, to purchase a new house for your chassan, for your son, to purchase a house for him, put a down payment on his house. You can't do during these days. Netia shel simcha, ezu netia shel simcha zeh hanotea avoniki shel malachim. You plant certain types of plants where they were planted in the gardens of kings and near their palaces, where they were providing good shade, straw underneath them. To plant those near your house is joyous planting, because those trees are going to provide you with exceptional shade, and you'll have to stroll underneath them and get good shade. That you can't do. Sheila Shalom. You're not supposed to ask, how you doing? What's up? What's going on? People that are chaverim, the Talmidei Chachamim, keep the halacha, they knew about the halachas. They wouldn't ask each other how they're doing. Amei Aretz, they don't know the halachas. Sholim machzir lehem b'saf rafa of the kovid rosh. They ask the chaver, they ask the Talmid Chacham, how you doing? So then you answer them quietly, in a solemn manner. The people that knew about the halachas, they sat wrapped up in their clothes and their talisim, like they were excommunicated from HaKadosh Baruch Hu until rain actually fell. An important person, he's not allowed to demonstrate in public servitude to Hashem, because he's an important person. He can do it in private, but the people have to give him chashivas, give him prominence. So he's only allowed to fall on his face in public unless he's guaranteed that he'll be answered. Like Hashem said to Yeshua, who fell on his face to ask to plead from Hashem, he said, "Get up, that I already answered your prayers." A person can't a important person can't wear sackcloth. Elam Kenana ki Yehoram ben Achav until he's guaranteed to be answered like Yehoram ben Achav. Shnever v'hik Shmuel Melech as divrei Haisha v'yikra es b'gada. When Yehoram heard the words of the lady, like God, he ripped his clothes over al choma v'yara aminei hasak al b'sar. They saw that he was not his regular clothes, he was wearing sackcloth. Amr lezer lo akol b'kriya lo akol b'nefila. Not everyone was answered with nefilas apai. Not everyone was answered with rending your clothes. Moshe v'Aaron b'nefila. Moshe and Aaron answered by prostrate by falling on their faces. Yoshua v'Kalev b'kriya. Yeshua and Kalev were answered by rending their clothes. Moshe Aaron b'nefila. D'chsiv v'yipol Moshe Aaron al pneim. Says they fell on their faces and they were answered. Yeshua v'Kalev b'kriya. D'chsiv Yeshua ben Nun v'Kalev b'nefuna kiru bigdeim. Next pasuk says they ripped their clothes. Baskar v'Zera v'Temra. Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, Yahava Ksiv Yoshua. If it just said the word Yoshua, it would have been like we said, Hash Ksiv the Yoshua, Hava Ha'avids. Therefore, the Yoshua is the next pasuk, and it's a vav which connects it to the first pasuk. So therefore, Yoshua not only did he rip his clothes, he also was nofel alapov. He fell on his face in order to daven for Klal Yisrael. Amar Rabbi Elazar lo kol b'kima lo kol b'shtachavaya. Yimois Mashiach. When everyone comes to greet Mashiach, not everyone will be standing and not everyone will be prostrating themselves. Malachim Bekima, other kings of other nations, they'll greet Mashiach standing. Sarim Mishtachavaya, the noble people, people in the government who are not the king, they'll prostrate themselves. Malachim Bekima D'chsiv Kol Hashem Gol Yisrael Kedosho, the Redeemer of Yisrael Kedosho. Lavoza Nefesh, the Messiah Goy Evan Moshlim. Malachim Yeru V'Kamo. It comes to Klal Yisrael, specifically to Mashiach, who's the leader of Klal Yisrael. The Malachim will see him and stand up. Sarim Mishtachavai, and Sarim will bow down. D'chsiv Sarim V'Shtachavu. Maskil Rabbi Zeir asked the following question. With him, Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani, yeah, but Ksiv V'Sarim Yishtachavu K'Dekamas. If it said with a vav, it would make sense. Hashtiv Sarim V'Yishtachavu Hava Ha'avu. It says Sarim Vayishtachavu, so they did both. Sarim, some noblemen will stand up, and some they'll actually stand up and then they'll prostrate themselves. Amar of Nachman Bar Yitzchak, Afani Omer Lo Akol L'Ora V'Lo Akol L'Simcha. Not everyone, Muslim Mashiach, will experience light, and not everyone will experience Simcha. Sadikim La'ora. Sadikim will experience light. Yisharim L'Simcha, and Yisharim will experience joy. Sadikim La'ora D'chsiv Orzer V'Lad Tzadik. A light is planted for the tzaddik. Yisharim Simcha, L'Yisharim Simcha, people who have a straight heart, they'll have joy. Now, we'll do a little Elon and see which one is really greater. Is it just different things? A tzaddik, first of all, there's two things: a tzaddik and a yashar. Are all tzaddikim yasharim? Which one is better, right? Is it just two different blessings? They're equal, or is one better than the other? Rashi comments on this. Rashi says, Yisharim l'simcha, the Yisharim adifim yisadik. He says Yisharim are better than tzaddikim. Mesilas Yisharim. I mean, what's a Yashar? Yashar is a straight person. He's an honest person, right? Asisa Yashar Atov. You're a fair person. You're an honest person. You do business dealings correctly. You don't steal from other people. He's better than tzaddikim. Even tzaddik fasts. He does great tanios. He learns a lot of Torah, smada, but not every tzaddik is a yashar according to Rashi. There is other people. For example, the Rashba, the art school brings it. He says the opposite conclusion. He says tzaddikim are better because they have or, and joy, or is better than joy. And the Marsha, in explaining the Rashba, I'm reading from the article in the footnotes, footnote number 5. Marsha explains that gladness refers to physical pleasure, light is a pleasure of spiritual nature. So he explains the Rashba that simcha is a physical pleasure, and Yishar only get physical pleasure, and the tzaddikim get a spiritual pleasure. Now, I agree with this Marsha. I believe it is a physical pleasure, but I agree with the Marsha, but in Rashi. You say that? Join the Marsha, he's explaining the Rashba, Shita. I'll join with Rashi, is that I think that Yisharim are on a higher level than tzaddikim. It's harder to be a fair person than to be a tzaddik. Tzaddik is a madrega, but it's much easier. It's harder to be a fair, honest person your whole life. It's not an easy thing, and they'll experience physical joy. A tzaddik or a spirituality. I honestly, I'm saying this is what I believe, and my Rosh Hashiva of Yaakov Friedman has said this numerous times that it is pretty much the consensus of all the Rishonim and all the Achronim, Gedolei Rishonim and all the Achronim, that the Tanug of Olam Haba and Tchias HaMeisei is a physical hana. It's not a spiritual hana. Only the Rambam says that he's famous for saying that Olam Haba, Sadikim Yoshim, V'Troteim, Rosheim, like it said at the end of this Masechta, we'll see. They have their crowns, and it's a spiritual delight according to the Rambam. But everyone else believes it's a physical delight, and a physical delight is better than a spiritual delight. Or, when people say spirituality, I think it means like Ruchnius means doesn't exist. Ruach exists. Wind, if you put your hand and you feel wind, it exists. Wind does exist. It's just not as physical. It's not as strong as a leather couch, like this leather couch. And this you could feel. This is leather, real leather. So the physical pleasure is physical pleasure, or is a light. I mean, it's a spiritual pleasure. You could see, or Zarul Tzaddik, they're able to see people enjoying themselves, but they aren't actually able to enjoy themselves. So they can see, he'll see other people enjoying themselves. It's enjoyable to see other people enjoying themselves, but they actually experience the joy and the simcha and the physical experience that only the Yisharim will be zocha to. Hadron Lach Me'emasai. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. I'm going to do Daf Tet Vav.